Let me give you your chance to speak your opinion on this one. What did you think about the stoppage? I'll tell you what I feel about it. I don't mind it. I didn't think it was the best stoppage I'd ever seen. I think Keith Peterson's a very good referee. It did look to me like Dom was getting to a knee right as he intervened, but I also recognize, it was one thing I really appreciate about what Henry did, Coach, was he dropped him with the knee, and then the first punch he intercepted with on the ground landed clean. A lot of times those first punches do not land. They did for Henry. He was putting it on him. I agree. I don't know. What'd you make of the idea that Dom was getting to his feet?
I mean, there was, 3 seconds left in the round?
2.
So, 2 seconds, okay. So if I was in Dom's corner, I'd be a little upset. If I was Dom, I'd definitely be upset. But in all honesty, that knee hit him pretty hard. Like you said, as he went down, that first right hand hit, the left hook hit. And we watched the fight after at the hotel, and it was about 8 or 9 heavy left hooks, really hard shots. And so if there was a crowd, it probably would have been stopped, maybe even a couple punches earlier. But it's hard to say. It seems like every fight Henry gets into, it's a controversy with TJ Dillashaw. When he finished him, it was an early stoppage, and another one. But in all honesty, this kid hits hard, man. Henry can crack with left and right. I thought it was a good stoppage.
Yeah, what's funny? Unless you have that Francis Ngannou power, where you're just sending people into like the land of wind and ghosts. Because you're right, in the Dillashaw fight, he popped him real hard, but not flat out, KO. And so they're kind of fumbling, and that always creates a little bit of controversy, I suppose, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if they're looking to protect the fighter, I think it's a fair stoppage. If we don't care about that, I mean, I think it would have been the same result in the third round. But yeah, I mean, they definitely have a gripe. But in all honesty, for me, I thought it was a good stoppage, especially watching it live.
All right, guys, I got an answer to my own question. So I've posed this question to you guys a few times over the last 4 or 5 days. And I'm talking about Kamaru Usman specifically, but as it pertained to Kamaru Usman versus Masvidal, we were given very limited information. All of a sudden, one day, this huge welterweight fight, champion versus champion, gonna headline International Fight Week, which historically, whoever headlines International Fight Week is handed the award of the biggest fight of the year. I mean, historically speaking, it's a very big deal. All of a sudden, it's just gone. And we never heard why. But after the fight was off, and I think we were just left to draw our own conclusion. Well, the date's not gonna work out. International Fight Week isn't gonna happen. Let's do it another time. But we weren't giving him information, but after it was pulled off, we were told that something else big was out there for Masvidal, which led at least my ears to hear, okay, Masvidal's fine, which means something happened to Kamaru. Probably an injury, maybe an illness, lack of training, but we were just left to guess. There was absolutely no indication given. And I've asked you guys a couple of times, guys, am I missing something? Is there something in the article and my eyes didn't pick up on it and connect with my brain? What's going on here? None of you guys knew either. Well, so I talked to Usman. Usman sends me a text message, saw your video, call me. Call him right away. He says, Chael, I will tell you, I don't have much more information than you. He said they were going to move the Masvidal date up earlier. I want to say he told me May. He might have told me April, but they're going to move it up earlier. Usman goes, all right, let's do the fight. And something happened on Masvidal's side. They couldn't bring the fight together. So all of a sudden he hears, the same as we heard, he hears, they're going to separate the fight. Something else is going to happen with Masvidal. He doesn't hear anything about himself. He says, look, I'm ready. He says, and here's the only message I can give you. If you're out talking about me to people, here's my only message. And feel free to call me on it. I am in shape. I am ready. He said I weigh 186 pounds. I can make weight in 1 week anytime, and I will take on anybody with no argument. I mean, there wasn't much more said than that. The only other thing we talked about is nothing you guys would be interested in. I asked him how he's doing and how his family's doing. We socialized a little bit, but as far as that answer to the question, he said, no, I'm 100% healthy, and he said, I don't have information. I have not been told myself, directly or straight up, I will be defending my championship. I am under contract, and I will take on anybody. And he said, there's some great competitors out there right now. He mentioned Colby's name. He mentioned Tyron's name. He paid some guys some compliments. He threw in Leon. He said, man, there's some tough guys in this division. Some guys I still got to go through. So I think as we look at that, though, I'm not sure I have any more clarity. And I don't know that the media members that have spoken to Dana and asked him about this did a very good job with which would seem to me as the most basic follow-up question. It was the only question that I had. Now, I was a viewer, but the only question I had is, well, what happened? I drew a conclusion because history says when something like that happens, you've got two guys, fights off, but one guy's doing something else, that this guy must be hurt or sick, and it just wasn't what happened. So I will tell you, hopefully we get that fight back together. I mean, as much as we're hearing there's something else out there for Masvidal, we're not hearing what. It sounds as though they couldn't reach a date agreement, but that's a fight that we really want to see. And I'll speak for myself. I really want to see that fight. That fight makes a lot of sense. You got two champions in the same division. Got to put them together. But in addition to that, when something gets taken away, I want to see it even more.
You lose the fight, you're disappointed, you feel like it stopped early, and then he announces his retirement in the cage, and you were right in back of him talking to Dana. We could sort of see you, and I was wondering how you felt, because here you are, 3.5 years, you try to get that belt, and all of a sudden he beats you, and in your mind, prematurely, and he just like gives up the belt, and you're like, damn, I just worked this whole way to get that, and you're just throwing it away. How did you react to that when you heard him say that?
Well, it's, good for him, honestly. Like I always say, if somebody loses their job, congratulations. Now you get to figure something else out. I remember when you lost your job, you were heartbroken, Ariel. You've rebuilt the entire platform and everything's brand new. And what a lesson that could be learned for you, right? I mean, amazing, I'm sure. He's going to start a new journey. I think it's good for him, to be honest. Everything that I said before this fight, I think he's going to move right into it. Who are you without the belts? Who are you without the accolades? He'll have them. He earned them. But I've got a lot of those too. I can look back and I can pull out belts and show everybody. And I'm very proud of my line of work and the people. I cleaned out a division at one point. I'm proud of myself. So he gets to have that too. He gets to have this moment. He earned it. But I'm curious. Let's see who he makes a difference for. It's tough being out. It's tough changing your life. And he gets to deal with that. I hear he's got his own life moving forward. I think he said he had a kid on his way. Congratulations on that. Not 100% on that, but I thought that's what I might have heard.
I think he said he wants to have a kid.
Okay. So that's moving forward with life. I said it. Since he was a kid, he's been Olympic athlete out of high school to world champion fighter. Like now he gets to live life. He's choosing to live life. Oh, kudos to you. It is what it is. He's got his timing for everything. And, I got mine.
Do you believe him?
About being retired?
Yeah.
I think that he probably is saying that to get more money. He actually wants just more money and he'll fight. But if he doesn't get more money, I think he would retire. And I think that it's funny because Dana doesn't give a shit. Dana doesn't care if you want more money. Like, yeah, you beat me. Okay. Look at how you won and be proud of that. Do your thing. And I don't think that he's going to get what he wants, but if he wants more money, I think he got one of the biggest paydays you could ever get a part of right there in this pay-per-view that we just did. Sick card, stacked on a time when there was no other pro sports going on. If you can't reach skyrocket pay-per-view numbers in that time, then it's hard to negotiate with Dana and the UFC because that's what they negotiate with. They negotiate with how the spike happens when you fight. How do your views go? Oh, did you create a spike in the viewership? Well, no, you didn't. You created less than Ronda Rousey, or you created less than Conor McGregor. So what are we really talking about? Like, why would we pay you more? You're not doing anything for us. We're doing something for you. And I think a lot of these fighters don't understand that you can be the best fighter on earth, but you still got to create a spike somewhere. You got to do something. Do you create that spike or not? And that's the responsibility factor of a fighter. Because then at that point, if you don't create that spike in the viewership, then the UFC has to fill that gap for you to create the spike. So are we counting on them, or are we counting on our own business making skills, our our own existence as a fighter. We're private contractors here. So how is our business built to create a spike for the UFC? Or are we going, hey, UFC, put me in, I deserve it, I deserve it, I deserve it. I didn't feel I did that. I feel like I've been building. I haven't stopped working. I mean, I'm one of the few fighters with multiple jobs while I'm competing. Everybody goes, you've been off. I've not been off for 1,000 days. I've been training while I work 2 other jobs. It's much different.
If you are a fighter or someone who wants to start training in MMA, listen up. My name is Phil DeRue. I am the head performance coach of American Top Team. I train some of the elite MMA athletes in the world, such as Dustin Poirier, King Mo the Wall, Frankie Edgar, Junior Dos Santos, Edson Barbosa, and Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Going to MMA gyms or hiring a personal trainer can get extremely expensive over time. So if you want to get in shape and train using the exact program of the top MMA fighters for an affordable one-time price, check out Fight Ready in the description below. Use code MMA Central to get 20% off your final purchase. I hope to see you on the inside.